Namaste. Brand psychology is a central aspect of brand management. This area, however, is yet not treated as a distinct area within brand management. And discuss this, today we have with us Mr. Himanshu Vaidya, who is a consultant in twin areas of management and psychoanalysis. Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Sir, can we start with what is brand psychology all about?
Brand as an entity is created and resides in the mind of the consumer. The process of creation of this entity is largely a psychological process. There are two categories of inputs that go into creation of the brand in the mind of the customer. First category is a collection of objective factors of price, quality, after sales service, time to delivery, availability, distribution, and so on. So this is a set of rational factors. And then a set of subjective psychological factors. And both these sets come together in the mind to ultimately create a brand. So when we look at the subjective and psychological aspects of brand creation, this is a very, very important aspect of brand creation and brand maintenance and brand preference in the mind of the customer. In case of industrial products, the significance of psychological and subjective factors is less. Rational factors is more when it comes to brand creation or purchase. However, in case of consumer products, the subjective and psychological category of inputs that go into brand creation are very, very significant. And therefore, in the area of consumer marketing, brand psychology is extremely important because it is very necessary to know what happens in the mind of the consumer in the process of creation of the brand, maintenance of the brand, creation of brand preference, creation of brand leading to brand purchase, and creation of brand loyalty.
So is psychoanalysis used to study brand psychology?
Unfortunately, not adequately. Very few people like Kurt D. Rice and a few others have tried to combine psychoanalysis into brand management. However, most of the psychology knowledge that is used in brand management either is taken from behavioral psychology or it is taken from what is called theories of personality. But depth psychology and psychoanalysis has not been adequately used in the area of brand management. And I believe there is a very large scope, a very potent and promising scope to do so, because when we look at the way customers interpret and understand the brand, the process is largely unconscious. After you see an advertisement, nobody has the time, energy, or capability to rationally think about the advertisement because you are seeing so many across the day and you have too many things to do other than analyzing the advertisements. And therefore, the analysis and response to all communication, the entire brand campaign is largely unconscious. And where the unconscious is at play, psychoanalysis is a very powerful theory to understand what is going on. And therefore, psychoanalysis, although it's very powerful theory of the unconscious, and the interpretation and response to the brand campaign is largely unconscious, unfortunately, it has not been adequately used.
So what is the difference between brand image and brand personality then?
Brand image refers to the image that the brand has in the society. Whether people look at a particular brand as a value for money brand or a upmarket premium brand or a designer brand, whether they look at it as a masculine or a feminine brand, a tough brand or a soft brand. So it is a set of attributes which are associated with the brand, which leads to a perception about the brand in terms of some social or psychological categories. Brand personality refers to the fact when a brand is seen as being very near to a personality of a person. And this often happens when a brand is marketed or positioned on a very strict and very focused attribute over a period of time. It almost appears in the mind of the customer as though the brand was a person with those qualities, which is to say, the brand has acquired a brand personality. Or when one particular kind of model or particular type of models are used for a very long time, the brand starts acquiring a kind of a human personality in the mind of the customer, which is called brand personality. Take, for example, a brand called Thumbs Up. It is always marketed as uh, using a celebrity from Bollywood who is shown to be very energetic, adventurous, macho, and tough. And the models also are reasonably stable over a period of time. And therefore, the brand starts acquiring the human personality in the mind of the customer as being a brand with a human personality of somebody adventurous, somebody tough, somebody thrill seeking, somebody courageous. So this is how over a period of time the brand acquires a personality, and brand personality and brand image are two different things, although at times they can overlap. You will find many brands where brand personality is of a particular type, but brand image is of a particular type, but brand personality either is not there or quite different from the brand image that you have. So brand image is a more universal concept than brand personality. Unfortunately, what happens is when you do research about brand personality and you ask somebody that if you were to think of this brand as a person, what kind of personality the person would have. Now, this is a tricky thing because this question itself instantaneously creates the personality in the mind of the person. And you end up getting a result that the personality does exist, but actually it was created by the research process itself. So the more natural situation is that image is almost universal, but personality happens most of the times, but not every time. And there can be a confluence or divergence between brand image and brand personality.
So is it good to have brand image and self image of customer near to each other, or they should be different?
It is a complicated question because
Okay.
uh, if the brand image is the ideal image for the customer, then uh, even if there is divergence between brand image and self-image, the customer wants to move from self-image to the ideal image, which is the brand image. So I might see myself as a very risk-averse, non-adventurous person, but I might have a fantasy of being a courageous, adventurous person. And when I see the thumbs up ad depicting this personality, I might like to associate with that personality, and this might become one of the factors leading to purchase. So there is a very big divergence between self-image and brand image, but because the brand image is my ideal image, despite that difference, I am motivated to go for that brand. So the difference actually is motivating me to satisfy my desires by identification in fantasy. However, in certain cases, we see that when the brand image and self-image are different, but the brand image does not become the ideal image, in such cases, The divergence between brand image and self-image is counterproductive and does not lead to purchase or preference. And in such cases, it is necessary to have a convergence of brand image and self-image as far as possible. If the brand image is not the ideal image, in order to have higher brand preference and higher brand sales. So it is a slightly contextual question. In some of the books, they have wrongly mentioned that brand image and self-image should be as converging as possible, and any divergence is counterproductive. It is not true. It is contextual. In some cases, convergence leads to higher preference and sales. In some cases, even divergence leads to higher preference and sales if the divergent brand image is the ideal image. One can also see in case of, let us say, you can see a divergence in case of Activa, that Activa may be positioned as a mature man's vehicle, but it may end up into a situation where most users actually are women. So there is a divergence there between the self-image of customers and the brand image, but that does not lead to any reduction in sales. Actually, it enhances the sale.
Okay, doesn't it make it unpopular with men then?
This is where the catch is, that it is easier for Indian women to go for a product which is advertised as masculine, but very difficult for Indian men to go for a product which is advertised as feminine. Because the movement from women to men in image terms is seen as an upward movement, as a more modern movement, more fulfilling movement. But anything from manliness to femininity is still a social taboo.
Okay.
So it is very difficult to position something as a feminine product and expect men to buy it, but not so difficult to position something as a masculine product and slowly make it more unisex.
Okay. So, sir, how brand essence, brand identity, and brand personality related to each other?
Brand essence is the heart of the brand, the ideational center, the soul. So if Johnson and Johnson is based upon delicate baby care, Sony is based upon innovation and quality and miniaturization. Tata is based upon trust. Uh, Pepsi is based upon youthfulness. Say, uh, Virgin is based upon excitement and youthfulness. These are the centers, the brand essence of these brands. Now, this brand essence, when you have to translate into the real world, you have to create a brand identity and you have to create brand campaigns. And therefore, brand identity becomes the uh, physical, multisensory, mostly visual manifestation of brand essence in the real world. And brand personality is an option. So brand essence always is there. Brand identity always is there. That brand image also gets automatically created intentionally, partly at times even unintentionally, something gets created. And that brand personality, based upon the type of campaign that you do over a long period of time, it may get created or may not get created. And therefore, this is the sequence, like brand essence is the center, most enduring part, identity, second most enduring part, image, third most enduring part, and these three always are there. Brand personality becomes an option. Either you intentionally create it or it may unintentionally get created or not get created. And this is easiest to change and most short term of all the four. So that is how they are uh, related to each other.
So, is brand personality related to brand preference?
Yes, this is what I have found in my own research, and many other people also have found in their own research. That brand personality, no matter how you measure it, there are many ways of measuring brand personality, and uh, brand personality is very strongly linked to brand preference. And there are many ways to uh, measure or study brand personality. There is one, I think, by, I'm not very sure, Jennifer Akar or somebody, where four dimensions are used of brand personality: ruggedness, trustworthiness, innovation, something more. I don't recollect that, but four dimensions are used. And regardless of how you use it, brand personality is a very strong determinant of brand preference. So it tells us that instead of leaving it to chance, it is better to think out the brand campaign in a way that you end up intentionally creating and maintaining a very good brand personality, which is adored by the customers. And this will lead to a stronger degree of positive brand preference.
So how does psychoanalysis look at brand management?
Psychoanalysis looks at brand management in a way that it essentially is an uh, enterprise that looks at wish fulfillment, anxiety addressal,
Ah,
right?
okay.
Because most of the advertisements are wish fulfillment advertisements
Mm-hmm.
that you identify with the character and vicariously fulfill something which is a fantasy, which cannot be fulfilled
Hmm.
in the real world, or
Okay.
it creates new desires in you to go and fulfill those desires. So essentially,
Right.
it's a desire machine, at times to
Hmm.
vicariously fulfill by identification, at times to create new desires, and at times to
Hmm.
uh, address some of the anxieties. If you look at the insurance ads, they are essentially based on addressing anxieties.
Hmm.
So either you address anxieties or you do wish fulfillment or desire creation, and that is largely a process which is unconscious. So this is how psychoanalysis looks at this whole enterprise, and you can also see that the whole process is largely unconscious. And we
Uh,
can go slightly later into in what areas psychoanalysis can be used, but in the entire brand management area, most of the uh, processes which happen in the human mind are largely unconscious, and that is where psychoanalysis is a very powerful theory, not adequately used as of now.
yeah. So exactly my another question, sir. What are the areas where of brand management where we can use psychoanalysis?
Start from the product design,
Okay.
product design in terms of the product aesthetics, the color of the product, the form of the product, how you use the product, how you see the product, how you can enrich the product ideationally in terms of design. So the product design, product aesthetics, the ideational enrichment of the product is one large area where the response is largely unconscious. Then come to the area of retail experience. Retail experience is a multi-sensory experience. It's a visual experience, it's an auditory experience. So when you enter a good retail store, you see good colors, good forms, good compositions. You also experience good air conditioning. You also listen to good music. You also experience good perfume. So it's a multi-sensory experience. All the senses are stimulated inside the retail store. And that is why you feel good being inside than being outside. So this response also is largely unconscious. You have a question?
So, yeah, is brand management communication profoundly using Jungian concept of archetype?
Yes, let me just complete the first part. The
Yeah.
If you look at the areas where brand management can be used, first is the product design. Aesthetic parts ideational enrichment parts of the product. Second is retail experience. Third is the entire brand campaign. All the advertisements, the events, the public relations, largely response is unconscious. Then you come to the testing of advertisements, pre-release and post-release. So all these areas are areas within the brand management area. You can also look at extension, how unconsciously people will relate to extension. Do they relate positively or negatively? You can look at the concept of brand essence and brand personality from a psychoanalytic standpoint, brand identity from a psychoanalytic standpoint. All these are areas of brand management where psychoanalysis can be pervasively used, very profitably used, but is unfortunately not used enough.
Right. So my question, another question was, is brand management communication using Jungian concept of archetype?
Yes, very much so. You will see the entire brand communication zone flooded with a very few archetypes. You have the archetype of the hero, you have the archetype of the old wise man, you have the archetype of the child, you have the archetype of the mother and father, you have the archetype of the healer, and you have the archetype of the brave hunter, and the archetype of the warrior. So these are the archetypes around which the majority of brand communication revolves. For example, if you take the campaign, डर के आगे जीत है, there is victory after fear, there is victory ahead of fear, right? Essentially, it is revolving around the warrior archetype, the man who struggles courageously. If you look at uh, many of the Ayurvedic ads where an old person comes and gives advice, or the many of the Iodex ads, they essentially are ads revolving around the old wise man or the old wise woman. When you look at the this jingle, uh, I don't know which brand it is, but the jingle is about. Uh, it's very common. Let us say you see an advertisement where a young girl is going, a young college girl is going, and a young college boy is following her. You will see it in chocolate ads, you will see it in cosmetic ads, many ads you will see. And this is essentially around the archetype of the prince and the princess. So you will see the prince and the princess, the hero and the warrior. These are the archetypes around which the whole communication is loaded for wish fulfillment.
So can we take some examples in the area of brand management where psychoanalysis is clearly seen or displayed?
Take some campaigns like Goodyear Take Me Home. There is a campaign of Goodyear tires where a child is sitting all alone on the footpath and waiting for a car to come and stop and take him home. It is a classical case of using the fear and the feeling related to abandonment to sell a product. You take a look at X deodorant and perfume. The moment you spray X deodorant and perfume, women come rushing to you from all over. It's a classical example of wish fulfillment. Uh, Take the example of insurance companies where the person is dead but leaves behind insurance and everybody is grateful to him. It's a classical case of uh, being related to people and trying to become immortal. It's a very good example of object relations and narcissism in a sublimated way. Look at the way of the advertisements where a film heroine is using some soap or cosmetic and all the men are running after her. It's a classical example of the omnipotent princess, where there is nobody apart from her. It's a classical example of narcissism, omnipotence, and the princess archetype going together. And it's such a seductive concoction that every woman wants to be in that place, just as every man wants to be in the place of the X model. So these are some of the psychoanalytic themes where the theme of abandonment, the theme of death, the theme of anxiety, the theme of sexuality, the theme of narcissism, the theme of omnipotence, the theme of relatedness, all the psychoanalytic concepts are being addressed and being used for brand management purposes, although not adequately recognized as such, not researched and studied in the way it should be.
It would be really nice and interesting to see psychoanalysis, being used in
True.
such areas. Yeah. Well, we have discussed today a rare area of brand management, and with this, we end our series of brand management. But if there's something you want us to discuss, do write to us at hvindia@gmail.com and we'll surely take it up. Well, thank you and namaste, sir. Thanks a lot.
Namaste. Thank you.